يا راغبا في كل علم نافع.
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته، ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن، ومكارم الأخلاق ندرسها معا، أدب وتربية على الإحسان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.
السلام عليكم ورحمة الله. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على أشرف المرسلين نبينا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. Islamic Education Level 4, and talking about the diseases of the heart. Such an important subject that it's mandatory and it's an obligatory thing upon every Muslim, especially those who study the deen of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, those who are concerned about their life, about their deen. They want to save themselves from the hellfire. They want to be among the people of Jannah. They want to convey this message to others. This is the message of the deen of Islam, that you need to have the foundations of it. And one of which is to know the diseases of the heart according to what's in the Quran and the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ, and the remedies and the cure from it according to the Sunnah of the Prophet ﷺ. Continuing inshallah ta'ala, and with the subject of al-shahwa al-muharrama, the forbidden desire or the forbidden lust, or the things that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade. And He's the most wise, the most merciful subhanahu wa ta'ala, created us in such a way, and He gave us the means to be able to abstain from what we need to abstain from, and to do what we need to do, all of that in a perfect setup, in a perfect way that He created us with subhanahu wa ta'ala. So first of all, ash-shahwa, or the desire, as part of being human being, it's in our innate. This is how Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created us. And it's there for noble objectives, of course, and to fulfill the ubudiyya, the servitude to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, by how we control and we do these types of desires in this life, whether it's in halal or in haram, and the many benefits that humanity would benefit from as a result of the fulfillment of the desire. But here we're talking about the sinful one, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade. And the details of that, of course, is to be learned, and we have to know this in details. But what are some of the reasons why would a person fall into a sinful desire? So he has the desire for it, but it's haram. It's something that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade. One of which is the weakness of one's iman. The weakness of one's iman, because as we know that the iman increases and decreases. Increases with the good deeds and decreases with the bad deeds. So one's strong faith is basically what prevents the person, protects the person from falling into the sinful desires. So having a weak iman as a result of sins, so that's definitely one of the great means for the person to fall into what's haram, what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade. Another reason for it, and it's important to know these things to try to find the ways to fix it. The bad companionship, the bad friends, the friends those who would lead the person astray. And the Prophet ﷺ ordered us as part of our deen that choosing your friends is not just something that happens by circumstances or whatever. No, it happens by your decision. You make a decision who is your friend. As the Prophet ﷺ said, الرجل على دين خليله فلينظر أحدكم من يخالل. The man is upon the religion of his close friend. So let each and every one of you look who is your friend. So decide who's your friend and who's not. And many, of course, of the sins as a result of such companionship. Allowing ourselves to gaze in whatever comes around and whatever a person is at ease with. And looking at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade is like an arrow of Iblis. And this is one of the things that goes directly to the heart, that corrupts the heart. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala commanded us, قُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ يَغُضُّوا مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِمْ وَيَحْفَظُوا فُرُوجَهُمْ ذَلِكَ أَزْكَى لَهُمْ. Say to the believing men to lower their gaze and to protect their private parts, one lead to the other. And this is purifying for them. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is well acquainted of what they do. And the same command is repeated for the women. وَقُلْ لِلْمُؤْمِنَاتِ يَغْضُضْنَ مِنْ أَبْصَارِهِنَّ وَيَحْفَظْنَ فُرُوجَهُنَّ. The verse. So both men and women are commanded to lower their gaze. One of the reasons, as the ulama they mention, is when someone has a lot of free time. And a Muslim doesn't really have a free time. There's no such a thing as just time to waste. Because this time that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created, it's the time where we're supposed to have our provisions of good deeds, because we're going on a journey, and the hereafter it's required for us to have good deeds versus the bad deeds. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us. So especially for those who are youth, they have the strength and the power that you should use the energy and the effort that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave them the ability to use it for the sake of Allah for something good, whether it's something benefiting for their own selves, worldly matters or religious matters. So when the youth or so they have lots of free time, then shaitan has his own ways to make them slip away into the haram and to what's forbidden. And that's why the nafs, this human nafs and human nature, is if you don't make it busy with what is good, it becomes busy with what's bad, what's evil. And as the Prophet ﷺ, he said in the authentic hadith, نِعْمَتَانِ مَغْبُونٌ فِيهِمَا كَثِيرٌ مِّنَ النَّاسِ. Two favors of Allah, two bounties of Allah. Many people are deceived, or they deceive themselves with regards to these two favors, الصحة والفراغ, health and free time. So that means we have to use our health for the sake of Allah, and the same thing to occupy our times with what is benefiting for us. Another reason why a person would fall into what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade from these desirable matters that are sinful is to be at ease with the haram, not to exalt it in one's heart. To be at ease, meaning nowadays with the fitan of these equipments and tablets and so on, the ease to look at what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala forbade, the ease of mixing between men and women. Once that happens, that leads to the next evil step, and a person then keeps on degrading himself. So this is one of the things, not to be at ease with these things, and to know what one thing would lead to the other. And with the knowledge of the deen of Islam, a person can clearly see that. To be close to what instigate the desires. And even as you see in some of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, that the Prophet ﷺ forbade people from sitting on the paths and the road of people. Why? Because people would just keep on looking and gazing at people going back and forth, and that can instigate all kinds of desires. The same thing with what people watch on screens and things like this. This is something that the Iblis and the helpers of Iblis, they have a plan for you to take you away from the deed of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So knowing all of these things and knowing that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala created the desires in us, it's supposed to be created for us to be helped to fulfill the benefits that we need to have in this life. He gave us the desire to eat, right? And the fact that we enjoy certain food and things like this, because in itself it's a favor from Allah for us to be grateful to Allah and to sustain our life and our bodies to be healthy on the face of earth, to worship Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala put in us the desire of having relations, between men and women and so on, this is by itself is a great favor from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, to be grateful to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and to enjoy what Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bestowed upon us with what's halal, what's permissible, and to have the humankind to keep on reproducing, and that's all by the will of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And this is all, whoever witnessed that, he would see the favor of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala upon us. But that same thing that it's supposed to be used for what is good, if it's used for the haram, for spreading corruption on the face of earth, then you would see how all kinds of evil comes as a result of that. And that's why it's very important to be aware of these types of things and to know how to deal with it and know how to protect ourselves from these evil actions, because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, as He forbade us from certain things, He also gave us the ability and the means of how to deal with it, so that we are protected from what is haram. We'll talk about that inshallah ta'ala next time. وصلى الله وسلم وبارك على محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم. والسلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته.
يا راغبا في كل علم نافع
ينمو العلم ويتقدم بتقنياته ومجالاته ومعه نطور أدواتنا في تقديم العلم الشرعي. أكاديمية زاد.
زاد أكاديمية ينبوعها صاف ليروي غلة الظمآن، ومكارم الأخلاق ندرسها معا، أدب وتربية على الإحسان. بشرى لنا زاد أكاديمية للعلم كالأزهار في البستان.